Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are, and welcome to another Nerd Nation stream. This is one of our tier list broadcasts. I'm with my usual co-host, returning guest in DC fan, also known as Bossman, also known as Gary. How you doing, mate?
I'm all right, guys.
Very good. And also we're with Bobby, cousin Cheeto. How you doing, mate?
I'm in this little box. Help me.
Yeah, me too. I hope you guys love my new Chrome Dome. Thank you very much. Also had to shave as well, trim my beard. I was gonna grow it really big, but I decided to, fuck that shit, so I trimmed it. Okay, so we're gonna be talking the tier list. We're gonna be doing the films on when they were released. So obviously, Iron Man being the first, Endgame, sorry, Far From Home being the last. It'll be the first three phases, obviously. We have a tier list as well. Bobby, you want to just quickly tell us how the tier list works?
All right, so what we have at the very tippy top is Phase 1, WON tier, which is going to be the excellence of excellence. The second one is going to be the vision phasing tier. So, vision phases through things. It's funny. The That'll Do tier, which will be our meh tier. And then our bottom of the barrel, which is our Terrence Howard tier.
Lovely.
Nothing against him as an actor, but he didn't last very long in the MCU. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm. So we have four tiers here. For how many movies? I believe 23?
23 movies.
23 movies. So let's just start, shall we? So we're going to start with the movie that began it all. Even I know what the first one is, and that is Iron Man. This film rejuvenated Robert Downey Jr.'s career. It got us. How do I say more about this film? I mean, like, for me, it's got the best suit up scene of all the suit up scenes from Iron Man. The very first one, the serious look on his face, understanding somebody who was once an arsehole and changing for the better, and even though his personality regarding his quirks and humorism is still the same, he has a different outlook in life, and you can see that, you can understand that from what he's gone through. This film is excellent. It's the best Iron Man movie of all the Iron Man films, and I've got nothing but praise for this movie. Excellent origin story, excellent coming of age story. One of the many arcs Tony Stark goes through in the entire MCU. He goes through so many, man. It's unbelievable. And this is definitely one of them. And the first sort of remnants of his future relationship with Pepper Potts as well. What do you have to say about this movie, and where would you like to put it in the list? Personally, before I hand it over to you guys, this is top tier. This is the top tier. I mean, like, it has to be top tier for me because this started the MCU, and if it wasn't for this movie, God knows where we would be now at this particular date and what sort of shit we would be getting. Okay, on to you, DC.
Okay, I thought this is going to be controversial opinion. I think this is the best of the origin movies that the MCU has done. Because all of them, because I think that the rest of them, this set like a blueprint for how the rest of them done. I think most of them fit around more or less this blueprint. Maybe Captain America is a little different in some places, but the rest of them fit, I think, this blueprint that Jon Favreau put forward. Now, again, like, I would consider it the best MCU origin movie. Is it the best superhero origin movie all time? No. That's still Batman Begins, but this is still a very high this is still a high bar that I get to see an MCU movie jump over. I think it's not been met yet. I think the closest one has been the Captain America movie, but because that's more of a period piece. But I think that in terms of, I agree with you, it should be in the good tier.
Yeah, Bob?
Well, I'm the one who's going to be up a creek without a paddle here. And I'm outvoted already, but I would put this anywhere between Vision phasing tier and That'll Do tier because Iron Man's not my favorite Avenger at all. It was a good origin story, and it did light the match for the MCU. And Robert Downey Jr. has redefined the Iron Man character. All excellent points, true statements. The movie itself, the villain was almost garbage. I didn't
Cliched.
Huh?
Like, somebody is a cliched villain. Somebody you're like very close to you ends up betraying you. Very cliched.
So I would maybe put it Vision phasing tier just because it started the MCU out of respect. But I'm already outvoted. So Iron Man goes into phase 1
Mate,
tier.
I just want to also add that this film is also connected to the very last movie in this tier list, Far From Home. That's how significant this movie is. And yeah. Anyway, on to the next. Oh, sorry, Bobby, you want to say something?
No, I was just going to say The Incredible Hulk is next.
Yes, sir. This is Edward Norton's Incredible Hulk. Regarding this particular movie, my favorite part of the film is Tim Roth in this movie. I like Tim Roth in this film. It was the only kind of bit which got me going. We also had that moment where that geezer who was experimenting on Ed Norton before he experimented on Tim Roth and had some of that ooze shit going, that gamma shit going in his wound in his brain, and his brain starts expanding. We've never got anything from that since, which is unfortunate. They haven't really. This has almost become like. This film has become like the forgotten child of the MCU. It really has. It's watchable, and the Tony Stark cameo at the end was pretty cool. Kind of made you realize there's more to this than meets the eye. But honestly, Edward Norton never continued from this. Liz Tyler is it Liz Tyler?
Liv
Tyler.
Yeah, Liv Tyler. My bad. We don't see any more from her. Thunderbolt Ross is the only person to come out from this, really, and yeah, this is a hard one to call. I'll come back to me. I'll let you guys. Bob. I'll pass it on to you.
For me, I mean, I'll do That'll Do tier. That's the second from the bottom. I wouldn't put it at the bottom only because I liked the movie. I mean, I thought it was a good Iron Man movie. I thought it was, I thought it was a pretty good. I mean, for an Incredible Hulk, movie, I thought it was pretty good. It was much better than the 2003 Ang Lee one. And maybe our standards were pretty low at that time, but I would definitely put this at second from the bottom, which is That'll Do tier.
I would put it higher. I personally would put it higher than that because I thought this was a love letter to the TV series. Like it had, like I think it was a Spanish, like an old TV series that the original guy who did Bruce Banner was in. Was it Billy Batsby? Or what his name is?
Billy Batson.
Yeah, no, Billy Batsby. No. The guy who originally played him in the TV series. And like I thought there was like old sweet that there was this pathos that he got away from the world to get away from being the Hulk and stuff like that, and like the fact he comes back and stuff like that. I thought that was good. And again, there are good aspects to it. And again, I think that this is underrated a little bit because I think the thing is I don't think the Hulk on film on his own works because he has to be up against somebody who's a gamma villain, and they're really like smashy, where they're not really like a maniacal, super villain who plans out plans. He's not like Doctor Doom or something like that. They're just like, no, we're just going to get two CGI things hit each other, and there's no weight to it. So I think that's a problem. But apart from that, I thought Edward Norton was fine as the Hulk. And it must be like Edward Norton's reputation for being a little bit hard to work with. That maybe that maybe didn't get in the series, but
that's what I heard.
Yeah, again, I wish he did carry out because again, Matt Ruffalo, while being good as Dr. Banner, again, I thought Edward Norton was better because he's a better actor, but that's my opinion.
I agree with you. Edward Norton was a good Bruce Banner, and I don't have any issue with him being Bruce Banner. Continue on. Mark Ruffalo is great. Honestly, Edward Norton I feel like would have been good as well, but I did hear that he was hard to work with, and I mean it almost seems like it would have been more of a hassle to keep him on because then he would have wanted more creative. The problems is that he wanted more creative control. He wanted, yada, and it's almost
he was
like
a bigger actor back then as well.
Yes.
He was a much bigger actor. He was probably the biggest actor they had at the time. I mean, his stock has fallen a lot recently because he's just not making shit. But or anything good recently.
So, Bossman, where would you want to put this one?
I'll go with you two. I'll go in the second to bottom because again, I can't really justify this being I'd do it in the just good category, but I don't think it's in the terrible tier.
Okay.
I actually haven't made my decision yet, but you read my mind. This is probably going in. But I never look at this film as like terrible, but it just feels a bit awkward. It feels a bit out of place in the MCU. Even though it is in the MCU, regardless of General Thunderbolt Ross and Tony Stark being in it, it just doesn't feel like it's part of it.
Well,
Anyway,
it was in the very beginning as well. I mean, it was before the MCU knew what the MCU was.
I agree.
All right, so that'll do tier Incredible Hulk. Next is Iron Man 2.
You know what? You want to monologue this one, but I got not much to say. One of you guys want to take the monologue on this one regarding this film because I got not much to say.
I can take it. It's forgettable, and it's got one of my worst actors of all time in it, and that's Don Cheadle. I mean, I hate it. He replaces one of the actors who I love, Terrence Howard, with an actor I hate. So it's basically be like, so like, yeah, I hate. So I hated that, and then like it had like Mickey Rourke doing the horrible Russian accent. Like God, no, blimey! Like, he's up there with Sean Connery doing Irish. To me, it's like, well, this is Bird. This is Bird. It's like, what accent's that? And like, I just like, and like, the thing is, it's like, it was a bit lame. It's like, instead of having multiple mechanical enemies, we just have thousands. It just seems like it was a remake of the first one to me. I don't know what you two think.
I think this film is. I think I'll put this in That'll Do tier for a start. I think this is a bit of a disappointment after considering what we got in the first movie, but we did flesh out the MCU a lot more in this film. We got to see Black Widow as well. We got more of Nick Fury in this movie, but those things don't necessarily make a film good if it's still shit in some of its parts. I don't think this is the worst of the Iron Man films. We're going to talk about the other one later on, but this for me will be a That'll Do tier. Mickey Rourke was on the crest of a wave when they got him in this film. His Russian accent. My problem with Mickey Rourke is that he was everything in this film. He was a super intelligent scientist and an incredible killer. You know what I mean? Like, he was everything. Like, come on, this guy can do all. He can kill people and he can fucking create an arc reactor. Come on. You know what I mean?
I'd put it in just so category, but because Don Cheadle's in it, I'll put it in the terrible category.
Regarding Don Cheadle, like, you know what? Terrence Howard, excellent actor. But you could see, in my opinion, a more bubbly persona to Rhodey in Don Cheadle's character. And there was definitely a way, the chemistry between him and Robert Downey Jr. is there to see. They bounce off each other very well. They're both very good at the comedy aspects, but they're both they understand comedy, both of these guys. Don Cheadle more. I could see that. I'm not sure if that same sort of chemistry was there between Robert Downey Jr. and Terrence Howard. It didn't feel like it was there. But you regarding your dislike of Don Cheadle, that's not why I dislike this as much. That's not why I dislike this.
That's not the reason I dislike. That's not the reason I dislike it. The reason I dislike it is because it's like the first film. Just instead of one metal bad guy, here's a ton of metal bad guys. It's like.
Well, we did have like War Machine. He needed to do his shit, and if he was like using that chain gun on people, it would have been a Red Massacre. So. But yeah, it's okay. I mean, like we got Pepper Potts and Tony having their kiss, which was great. Like that, they didn't drag that, which was excellent. It ended with them being together, and it was the best thing to happen to Tony. You know, like he stopped being a womanizer, which was fantastic. So we got a little bit more arc in him, you know. And he also was supposed to die. Like the fact that he was supposed to die and all that sort of shit, and he created a new element, all that bollocks. I'm not sure about all of that, you know. So yeah, this just scrapes to third tier to me. Bob?
All right. This is, y'all are gonna hate me. This is my favorite of the Iron Man movies. I mean, A, Scarlett Johansson. B, Black Widow. C, that's about it.
That's about.
I mean, but I honestly, like the first Iron Man movie, as I said, I didn't walk out of the first Iron Man hating it, but I wasn't like, oh, this is the start of something great. You know, after walking out of Iron Man 2 and like all the rumors and stuff that have been swirling, the atmosphere around Iron Man 2 and about the MCU starting, like, and them talking about, at this point they had already casted Thor, they had casted Captain
Yeah,
America, they
the
had already
post-credit
announced, and
scene.
yeah, like there was a lot of buzz around, what was going on at
The
this point.
post-credit scene for Thor was excellent, but that's a post-credit scene. That's not the film about Iron Man. Just so you know.
Yeah. But I mean, but that was like the first, like, beside, I mean, I know Nick Fury was in Iron Man, and then, but the tease of Thor, and this is where we started. We're like, what is this? Like, what is going on here? So I mean, we actually, I feel this movie for me is definitely a vision phasing, which is second from the top for me. Um, I like this Iron Man movie. I like it better than the first. I certainly like it more than the third. I'm not going to say it's the best Iron Man outing. I'm just saying, like, out of the Iron Man trilogy, this is definitely my favorite. And I get it. I hear your guys' gripes about it. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I mean, I see where you have. I mean, you're right. There's mechanical bad guys, but now there's more.
No, that's not my issue with it. I just think there's other problems with it as well. But you're tier 2, yeah.
I'm tier 2, which is the vision phasing tier.
I'm tier 3. What about you, Bossman?
I'll go with Bob. It's tier 2.
Okay, dokes.
So you want it to be almost at the top.
Damn, but you were shitting on this, by the way, here, Bossman. So I'm surprised you're taking it to tier 2.
Yeah, tier 2 is.
Trust me. My very hot take is coming up. Trust me.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, so we're gonna. Wow, so we're going. Iron Man 2 is vision phase. I didn't think that I would make it that high. I thought I'd have to compromise with that.
I thought Bossman was with me on that one.
All right. So next one is Thor. You guys want me to do this one?
Yes, please.
All right. So the first Thor is a classic. My daddy is punishing me for being a bad person or a jackass movie. This movie I thought was pretty good. It was definitely the first MCU movie that stepped outside the box. It changed all of Asgard and Thor for Marvel Comics, even, because they eventually incorporated this into the comics. But instead of them just being gods, they were aliens. And they were just aliens that were more powerful than us. And I mean, it makes total sense. I'm not knocking it. I like the explanation. There's still some plot holes here, which I thought about back in the day, which was, so all these other realms are planets, but it's like there's more than 9 planets in even habitable planets in the MCU. So maybe these are just 9 planets that they consider a part of their territory, but they're pretty vast and apart. So that's one of the issues that I have with this movie. Loki is Tom Hiddleston is Loki, excellent. Anthony Hopkins is Odin, fantastic. Chris Hemsworth is Thor, pretty good. In this outing, he's kind of finding his footing. I feel like in the second one he had better footing, but in this one, not a bad footing for Thor, and not a bad first outing. And on top of that, this wasn't because in a part of the trailers and everything, you thought that they were going to try to use the Bifrost to destroy Earth, because you're like, oh, everything's got to be a threat to Earth. And in this movie, they did not. It was a threat to Jotunheim. So it's not like that we were sitting there going, oh God, the Earth. No, they were going to. Loki was trying to destroy Jotunheim with the Bifrost. So it was a nice little twist. It's like, oh, the Earth is not on the line. Finally, it's just another planet, which is good. So I will turn it over to Zam.
Where are you going to put it? Where are you going to put it, by the way?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. My earbud fell out.
Where are you going to put this?
Oh, yeah. I'll put this under That'll Do tier. We kind of have to be picky, because a lot of the MCU movies are good. So I kind of feel like we do need to be a little bit more picky.
I'm sorry. I'm with you on this. I wanted to really like this, and it's okay. We got to meet Hawkeye, Clint Barton in this film. Thing. Which was nice.
We saw more of Phil Coulson.
More of Phil Coulson. This was probably his biggest part in the MCU. Mm-hmm. It really was. He had a significant role here. more than Avengers, definitely more than Captain Marvel.
No, I feel like his role in Avengers was a little bit more, but I mean, I agree with
It
you.
was short lived, pun intended. Um, so yeah, but and you got like the being betrayed by your brother, saying like it's like being somebody close to you hurting you, and Loki being the god of mischief. Like he's known this guy for 1,000 years. He's good. Haven't you realized he was always going to stab you in the back? Like come on, And then obviously him discovering his origins, which never really amounted to much, to tell you the truth. Um, Loki discovering his origins.
I mean, he the only time he ever even mentions it again really is that when he's talking to Thanos in
Infinity
Infinity
War,
War when he
yeah.
says King of Jotunheim or whatever, and
Yeah, and he goes, by the way, I'm not Asgardian, and which we understand, but then he calls himself the Prince of Asgard straight afterwards. But nevertheless, I know what he's getting at, though. Everyone knows what he's getting at. Yeah, this is. I don't want to go on about this too much. I mean, the robot. I did like that part where that robot lands, and then Phil Coulson goes, "Is that Stark tech?"
yeah, and he's yeah, the guy's like,
tells me
is
anything
that
anymore.
Stark? And he's like, I don't know, he never tells me anything.
So, but I don't hate this movie. This is tier 3.
Okay.
But onto you, Bossman.
I probably like this film more than both of you because I thought it's a really good Kenneth Branagh film. I mean, again, like because
too much of a Kenneth Branagh film.
Yeah, it's like because you get the action parts which I quite like, and I like the fact that the dialogue is very Shakespearean. You get this like fish out of water story that sort of makes sense for Thor, and we get this idea of that Thor fitting in. Because I mean, I personally think this is the best of the Thor films, even though Ragnarok was a good film. Again, I hate the second one, but I think the first one is a really, really good film because it's well made, it's well told, it's well acted. Plus, I think what it also does, it also introduces us to the fact that Thor is having an influence on the world, like that this Stellan Skarsgård's character, looks up to him and and he can't believe it because he grew up with this story and stuff like that, and he found out, and you get into the mythos of this whole thing of you learn about Heimdall, you learn about Odin, and you learn about Loki and stuff like that. You learn about why they are the way they are. It isn't just he's just a bad guy. No, he feels like an outsider because he is an outsider and stuff like that. And we figure out why, and we figure out the way that Thor's a cocky arsehole, but the thing is, going home or being sent to Earth, he has lost some of that. He's lost touch with who he really is, and I think that is a very yeah. So that's why I think this is a really, really, really good film. I think it's top 10.
I want to add, that I loved his relationship with is it Dr. Skarsgård?
Yeah,
I loved it because
that's the actor's name.
Sorry, I can't remember what it's called. Sorry,
I forgot the name. Is it Dr. Skelvik or something like that? Selvik, yeah. I love this relationship because it's not just a relationship, but you see in the future films, whenever he's in the other Marvel movies, the sort of impact Thor has left on his life. Like he's changed his life, in a way that I really get to appreciate in the latter movies. Like he's got a real different outlook at life and how he sees the universe now as well and everything. And that was quite, when you see how his characters developed his arc, it's kind of touching, so those were good moments, but still nevertheless for the film on its own, it is tier 3 for me. So it's tier 3 for you as well, yes. Bob, and tier 1 for you, Bossman.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Well, unfortunately, you're outvoted, so it is going to go into that'll do tier. But I mean, it's not. I agree with you. As I said, we have to be a little bit more picky here. But I do agree. Thor is a great movie. As I said, I did not walk out of Thor with any kind of problems or issues or anything. That's one of the problems we're going to run into with this tier list is that a lot of these movies are good. It's just, we have to be nitpicky. So, sorry, boss man.
No, it's fine enough. I'll count out. Trust me, my hot take's coming up. Trust me.
All right. Well, the next one we have on the list is Captain America: The First Avenger.
I'll take this one if you don't mind.
I'm the American here.
Yeah, I know that, but I really feel that this film, for me, this film is number two in the tier list. I'm saying that right now. The reason being is that this film, as a non-American, really surprised me because I was really worried how this film was going to be portrayed. Because you have to understand, Bob, sometimes from when you're at the outside looking in, sometimes the Americana can get a bit much for us, and it wasn't that at all. Here's a guy who's just been given a symbol of Captain America, but he's more than just being an American symbol. Like, he's the person he is, and you see some of the characteristics that he would never have probably got if he was automatically somebody who was also a jock. Um, Being somebody who was a vulnerable person, he understood how vulnerable people felt, and he was always trying to look for the best in the world, and he would give his life for anybody, and you saw that in this movie. It was very touching. It was very bittersweet. There was no real happy ending to this film. Like, Steve Rogers was becoming a bit of a Peter Parker with the way things were going for him. Just never getting the rub of the green. And it's a good film. It's not a great film. Some of the, like, his origins was very up and down, which is what I liked about it, is that even when he became Captain America, it wasn't plain sailing. He still just became a puppet. He became a puppet for a little while, but he found his feet and he became the man that he is. And it's an okay film. It's an okay film. Different tier two for me. What do you think, boss man?
I agree. I mean, I think it's a good period piece. I love Haley Atwell's really good in it, and I like Tommy Lee Jones in it. And I like the fact that we had this idea of Hydra, but if I don't see Hydra for a while, I'll be okay with it. You know what I mean? Because I put them next to the Hand as like really annoying team. I don't really want to see again. It's like one of those things like because they're just really annoying. It's like they're dangerous because the amount of numbers they have, not because they have any sort of like overarching good plan or anything like that. And I thought this was, we got the Red Skull, and that was good. And I liked Tommy Lee Jones, that was good. And I like the idea of like this was the first crystal, and like the fact that we got Captain America willing to sacrifice himself. Sorry, spoilers for the film. But I thought,
like a 10-year-old movie.
But trust me, people get upset when you talk about certain people dying from like a film from 1986.
Yeah.
So. But as I said, I think it's a really good movie. As I said, I agree with Zam. It's a second tier movie because, again, they're really, really excellent movies. As I said, they're top tier. So.
Okay, and I am also in agreement. I will put this in the vision phasing tier, which is tier 2. So yeah, I mean, you guys basically hit the nail on the head. The only thing that took me out of this film, and back then I was a little bit more of a stickler for stupid stuff, was the laser guns. And I get that now that we've got the entire Infinity Saga behind us, I realize it's a little, it's different. But it's like, why in World War II do they have these laser guns? And I knew why, because they siphoned energy. I understood it, but I felt like it took me out of the movie and the period when they did that. And as we've gotten more MCU movies, I feel I've gotten more over that. And as I've honestly grown up more as a film watcher, I've also kind of been like, there's a good explanation. They're harnessing the power of an Infinity Stone. So, spoiler alert for an 11-year-old movie.
Just want to add a couple of things. First of all, we got to see Howard Stark as well in this movie, which was pretty cool. And we saw we've seen different phases of Howard Stark now, which is interesting, and he's been played by different actors.
And Peggy Carter.
Yeah. And also, unfortunately, we only got like one interaction, or we got a couple of interactions, but in the sense that one movie between Captain America and Red Skull, and Red Skull is, like, in my opinion, the top tier Marvel supervillains. And
I think back in the 90s, I would have agreed with you, but
I know what you mean. But because he's been relegated by how they're using him. But he can still be a top tier guy like Doctor Doom and all those other guys. He can still be up there. But unfortunately, I just don't think it's ever going to happen in the MCU.
All right, so the next one is the big one, guys. End of phase 1, Avengers. And for you guys, Avengers Assembled.
Yes,
or
thank
Avengers
you.
Assemble? Is it
Assemble.
Assemble?
Assemble.
Do you
Please.
want me to do it?
Yeah, sure.
You can
Go for
start.
it.
Yeah, go for it. Start.
It sucks. All right, it's a terrible movie, right? The thing is that like it's a Joss Whedon toss fest, right? That's basically what it is. The thing is that the second one is better. Age of Ultron is better. The thing is that what this is kaboo kablam for 2/3 of it. And I'm sorry, you need pauses, you need actual drama, you need actual stakes, you need character development. You don't get that here. What you get is Joss Whedon do what he always does, which is doing pop culture schlock of the worst kind, and it's all like this. This person doesn't like this person because he's an alpha male, and all those alpha males. It's like, come on, grow up, guys. You're in your 30s, if not your 40s. And the thing is that like the only good thing about it is Loki. That's the only good thing about it. Everything else makes no sense. That bloody stick is horrible. That horrible touchy stick. Oh, I'm going to make you a bad guy. Pow! That's horrible. The whole thing, and then, do you know what stops it? Iron Man's plate. How shit of a superpower is that a flaming stick is stopped by a flaming a harp compressor? And the end, this planetary threat, how did it end it? By sending a goddamn bomb into some outer world, and that's what shuts it off. That switch off ballers for this entire fucking army. It's fucking horrible. How people can like this fucking movie is fucking horrible. Sorry. Sorry.
I just want to say that you hate that film so much you're pretty much frothing at the mouth.
I hate it. I'm sorry. I hate it. Sorry. I know that I'm in the very much the minority on this film, but
you're tier 4, I guess.
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
All right.
I told you I had a hot take.
Go on, Bob.
I mean, Bossman makes some compelling points here. I mean, it's never going to make me hate the movie. I mean, and he's right in the fact that it's like we've had all these movies to build up to this one, and it's like, and I think we would have at this point with superhero movies and where they're at, I think we would have taken just about anything of this kind of caliber because we did. I mean, it was the first time we had this big assembly of superheroes
crossover and
everything.
Yeah,
so
massive crossover.
Let's say that and this is kind of a revelation for me right now. I'm not going to lie, boss man. But, I mean, so let's say we plop Avengers out of the timeline and put it out, like, now. Like, let's say after Endgame, the next movie is Avengers, the first one. We would probably tear it to shreds because of stuff. So, I mean, if we're being completely unbiased, I'm not going to say it's low tier. I will not say that because I did really enjoy the movie, and I still do. I watched it probably about a week or two ago. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to put it at vision phasing, which is tier 2.
Okay. But I want to make this compelling point to you and say to this. It is basically the same film as Justice League.
And I do not disagree with you. However, I did like Justice League. And
it's a guy coming from the sky, fascinated with a box that he wants to get from the bad guys to try and take over the world. He's got some weird alien things that come over and invade everything. And the only way to disable them is to disable him and to disable this big turn off button. It's a shit film, and everyone else is coming around to my thinking that it's shit.
All right.
And again, I know I'm in the minority, but everyone else will come around to my thinking eventually.
I'm not going to come around to your thinking. I need to interject. I cannot come around to your thinking. I'm putting this in the top tier as far as I'm concerned. What you say, it can be dissected because even though the stories are similar between that and Justice League, the MCU did it better because they had previous movies to make that shit more understandable when it happened in Avengers Assemble.
I'm going to interject as well because there were almost just as many movies between, and I'm not saying there were good movies, but between Man of Steel up through Justice League, there were just as many movies.
Steppenwolf was not even a consideration. Whilst we already saw Loki, we already saw Loki in 4. Yeah.
Okay.
So he was already established.
But Darkseid was already teased in Batman v Superman. Shit film, but it did tease Darkseid.
We already had Loki as a main character in 4, so we knew who he was. So he was also, he was
you have
returning.
A point there. Fair enough.
Yeah. So,
but a grand alien army is destroyed by a goddamn bomb.
I mean, it's a nuke, to be fair.
Well, bloody dig. Oh yeah, that's a switch off button. It's like, whenever we have an alien invasion, that's the way that we destroy them. I mean, I just realised what this is a rip off of Independence Day.
No, it's not. It's a rip off of bloody
Phantom Menace.
Phantom Menace.
It's a rip off of Star Wars. Yeah, destroy the flaming big in the middle of it.
For me, it all worked. We got introduced to Mark Ruffalo's Hulk in this film.
I agree with that.
And that was a good introduction. We lost Coles, and we saw some of the interactions and some of the chemistries between all of these Avengers who'd be, gathering together several more times in the future. We got more out of some of the sort of supporting characters who ended up being more main characters later on, like Hawkeye, like Black Widow. We got to understand them a bit more. They were more than like Hawkeye. Like Black Widow stopped being a piece of ass after in Iron Man 2. She was definitely just there for her looks. From this movie onwards, it was more than that. I stopped looking at her as a piece of ass after this film. I like the fact
they flaunted it well enough in that movie. I'm sorry, but
yeah, they did. I did. But one of the things I liked about Black Widow foreshadowing as well is that she constantly changed her hairstyle, and that was pretty cool for some reason. I just like that. It's a nice little touch. But for me, this is top tier. You're number 2. You're number 4. So where we're going to put this?
We're going to put this probably in 2 because
I mean, makes sense.
I mean, sorry, boss man, but yeah, you are in the minority. So, so that caps off phase 1. What I'm going to do is the way we're going to do this.
Sorry, one more thing. Like I forgot to. I just had a great time watching this film. I ended up very happy.
Absolutely.
Very, very happy at the end. Post-credit scene with Thanos as well. We knew what was. This was the beginning of something amazing. And even though it was the beginning of something amazing, this was also the culmination of something prior to that. So there's more to come after this. And it wasn't even the ending. There was more. It's just great. Okay, guys. So that's phase 1 complete. Thank you very much to Bossman and Cousin Cheeto. We'll be back with phase 2, doing the tier list, the same tier list, by the way. So join us for that. Thank you very much for watching, and have a nice day.
Bye.